Okay. I do know that most of you, or a lot of you, come here strictly for, you know, the spectacular wow effect. I call it the shocker du jour effect. And it is. Every day is another shocker du jour. I get, without fail. Now, I'm starting to get a bit of a following here and there, and we're going to do some testing. I got some DNA tests coming in. And this right here is a giant toe. And that is where the toenail was. All right, this is the vein side, right here, where the vein blood came in. And it backed up out of the vein side, which never happens. Usually just the red blood blows out. Look here, it just bubbled right out of here and blew the toenail right off of there. You see that? That's all bubbled up blood. You see, you can see where it was. That's the underlayment of the toenail. Now, the reason it blew up, normally it would blow out the red blood side. This is the red blood side, but it has this huge callus. And that's the back of your tip of your back of your toe where it hits. This is a big toe from a left foot, and I believe it's human, but a human giant. Now, I'm going to drill deep inside here with a masonry drill. And we're going to get down inside here, and then I'll extract some raw, really red blood. And I'm going to show this in the microscope. You can see raw red blood in here. All right, now this callus is just enormous. This guy did not take care of his feet well. Look at that callus. Oh, and this thing is heavy as can be. And there is a ton of metals in here and a lot of gold. Let me bring this over here, hold on. See if you can see this. All right. That's the callus. This is the bottom of the guy's toe. You see all that little white fabric-y looking stuff? They call that plagioclase. That's grip skin. Plagioclase is grip skin, these white fabrics, and it's the same stuff, it's the same fabric that's in lungs. As a matter of fact, here's a lung right here. Whoa! And a giant human fingertip, DNA tested, CAT scanned, 100% certainty it's from a giant human being. This I will also test with a DNA because there's only been one test done on this and all my stuff. But this is the same stuff, the same fabric. You see that white fabric? Same stuff. So what does that mean? Anytime you got something that really does a lot of work or expanding and so forth and has to stretch and it does that, you need these fabrics. And that's here. Now this died in a great flood, that's why it's flat. Most of my stuff is flat on one side, completely flat. And this just happens to be flawlessly perfect. And I'm going to do another DNA test on this one too, I suppose. Now I also have, like I said, the giant fingertips. That's already been done, DNA tested. This I probably will DNA test. I'm pretty sure I will. And again, I was thinking of snapping that callus right off of there. I have a pneumatic like that, and I could pop that off maybe. And I'll bet you there's a ton of metals in there. And I can see them already filtering through those layers. I don't know if you can see that, but there's all kinds of layers, just like you have on your own callus. If you have a callus, you layer builds up. Nothing different. And here's the top. You see that cornified stuff? You see those little bubbles? That's called cornified skin. And right there, that was where the red blood should have come out of there. You see that spot? That's where the red blood should have blown out of there, and it couldn't get through. That's where the red blood should have come out. And the same thing here, there's 2 spots. In the microscope you see them very well. But what it did is just blew up here because it tried to push through that callus, it couldn't get out. You see how that's wrapped together with this little triangle? This is what tissue does, it wraps together with a triangle. You see those little bumps? That's what they call cornified skin. And that's the layers of the callus. Isn't that something? Look at that. Look at those layers. And inside there, every layer the blood tried to push out. Well, the blood has all the metals. The metals filtered. And some of the moisture came out of here, yes. You can see where the moisture came out. But the metals stay back. That's why it's so heavy. Boy, this thing weighs a ton. And you can see there's gold. There's all over the place, there's gold and such. Filtering through these layers. And this is normally the blood doesn't blow out. This is just exceptional. And the only reason is because it's capped off on the other side. And it also backed up, which is never ever happens either. That black pushing back. The red is over here. You can barely see it, but you can see it. And it's going, everything has membranes around it, and the membranes coat around the tubes. And when the tubes get ripped apart, they normally seal over. This one broke back through the seal. This one's sealed over. You see how there's like a strap that runs around the whole thing? This stuff is amazing. See that? You see that? There's blood, like tons of blood right there. No problem getting blood out of this. And like I say, I will drill down deeply in there. When I say deeply, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch or something. And that'll all be discarded. And then we'll drill a little deeper, and that's the stuff we'll send to be tested. And see if it comes back human. I don't swab them right off the outside. And the same thing here, when I had it tested, I drilled into there. Right, this is just absolutely red blood. I put water on there and it just rehydrates into red blood almost instantaneously. Well, instantaneously. I got another one here that I spray red water on there and it's right before your eyes turns red. All right, believe it or not, I believe this is a meteorite. There's the artery. There's the vein. It's magnetic. Which it's metal, let's put it that, not completely metal. Now, right here there was a tendon emplacement right there. It's an aponeurosis tendon, and they have a really gnarly ball. Over here there was another one that just cooked off so much, cooking through space, that it exploded all the bloody stuff out of the gnarly ball, but the gnarly ball is still there. All right, there are bits and chunks of this and that everywhere. Now, this one came up and it went down and in place right there. And there was a membrane right here. Now, you see what you're looking at right there? This came through space. This is a meteorite. Normally they would call that a stony metal meteorite, but it's not really heavy metal. But watch this. Look at that. Can you see the color there? It's just pure red blood. And that's what is in between the layers of membranes. Is like that. They call it a mucosal layer. Some of them call it a slurpee. In between tendons is called a slurpee, which is a small leucine-rich proteins. And that's where it is. And this strap came up and locked in there so that this strap could move back and forth in the body of whatever kind of creature this was. But it has to anchor somewhere, and that was the anchor. And the anchor has to slide on this slurpy stuff here. And so it was wet and exploded. And these are the ones that didn't. The heavy skin, you know, there's all kinds of layers. But you see these, this is all biology. This is not just a rock. But this is a meteorite. And it's heavy. And I have other meteorites here too. I have another one, an iron meteorite that still has, I believe, just like this one, something that could be tested for what it was. I don't know what it is. It looks like blood to me. I know this was you got a vein and an artery. That I know for sure. There's a vein and an artery right there. So all of my stuff, I stand behind it because it's all stand behindable. That's my new word, stand behindable. This is a DNA tested CAT scan, 100% human, modern mitochondrial DNA. And this was PCR DNA tested. That's the top end. I mean, that's a fingertip. I have the hand. I have the knuckles. I have a little bone ball and a knuckle. I have the palm, and the palm it runs like between 3 and 4 feet wide. All right, and this is one of the fingertips. I have other fingertips that are extremely eroded, so you can see way down inside and actually see the vein and arteries where they were. And then I have all kinds of other stuff. It depends where they were. My property is saturated with these artifacts. That's all I can tell you. It's what it is, what it is, and it is what it is, and that's what it is. So we're going to see what it is, because it is what it is. All right, so let's see what it is. All right, here's the key. Have them explain what I got here. Explain what that is. I can tell you what it is. It's called a no-toe, which is a semi-human species, I guess. And that's where the tibia comes down, the big bone from your leg, and the fibula sits over here, which is the second one. And you have to really know what you're doing to be able to see where that attaches. I understand it a little better than most people, but it's hard, I find it very hard to see myself. But that's the bone right here, and right below it is where they attach together. Right, from this spot here and here, and then they come up together, the two of them together to make your leg bone. Very difficult to see that. Anyway, the toes are built into these. It looks almost human to me. And this is a sole. To me it is. It sure looks like it. But it's built in. This is part of this foot. It's not a shoe. This is not a shoe. This material here is the same as all of this material because it's all like a leather hide. I'll show you this in the microscope, and it's nothing more than a leather hide. And there's the bottom. And anywhere you get a lot of flexing, you're going to get this. So where it does this, you're going to get a lot of that. Where it creases here, where this hits, and that has to sort of flex up, you're going to get that creasing. This has to tip up, you're going to get that creasing. All right, and then on this side is where the spring load is, I believe. Again, this is all speculation. But I can see there's 3 spots. There's one here, which is the main impact. There's one up here that sits right on top of the spring. The spring would load up this way and push this up, and this would push it back down. So this is almost like a spring here, and this spring rocks between these two, and it would almost roll underneath this. And the pin that this one rocks on appears to be right there. I don't know if you can see that stuff. I can. I don't know if it's obvious in the camera or not. I'm going to tip it at different angles, and maybe you go back and look at it and see if you catch it in the right angle. You can see where the pin is and the springs and where that bottom roller is, and the one that sits on top. And then the really cool thing is, look at the front. You see that circle right there? You see that circle with the pin right in the middle? That's where all the fabric wraps around. You see this, all of this here and all down here, all around. And this is the pin. It pins all the fabric in the front together and wraps this foot. All the fabric on the foot. This is just like, you know, it's almost like a button on there. When I first saw that, I said, whoa, what the hell is that? I thought I had a Michael Jordan pre-flood model. This side here is where it died, laying like this in the flood. I mean, I'm telling you, it's just what it, it's, what can I say? All right, listen to this. This is kind of interesting. My friend put into his browser, whatever, what if Roger Spurr was right about his theories of mud fossils? And he came to a whole list of things. And down here it goes, psychological effect on society. Learning about the existence of giants or that our world was inhabited by other intelligent life forms may make people feel part of a bigger picture of life on Earth. This can be both inspiring and frightening. The Earth is just made of creatures. Biology is in space. That's where there is nothing but biology. That is frightening and it is inspiring to me. Now, evolution of worldview. All right, listen to this now. Spurr's theories can change the understanding of the past, forcing humanity to think. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. Spurr's theories can change the understanding of the past, forcing humanity to think about its future. Yes, think about your future. Today is just a flick of a page. The book only goes so far, and then you're outside that book, and that book better be written in a way that favors you. Let's put it that way. Now, perhaps this will lead to increased environmental awareness, a search for harmony with the planet. Yes, they understand my meaning even. It's hard to believe how much these things understand. Okay, just to see what I could get out of ChatGPT, I just said, if Roger Spurr is right about mud fossils, what would change? I say Roger Spurr, proponent of mud fossil theory, posits that certain geological formations, especially rocks, are actually the remains of ancient creatures, have been preserved and fossilized in a manner quite different from traditional fossils. According to Spurr and others who support this theory, the geological formation in question are not just natural stones, but the remains of giant beings, a lot of humans, some of which might have been human-like. No, they were basically human. And I had the DNA test done. Mitochondrial human DNA, I don't care what you call it. The body's undergone a process of transformation into mud fossils. They're mud fossils, all one word. Now, if Spurr's idea about mud fossils were proven to be right, it would lead to significant changes in several areas of science, particularly geology, paleontology, biology, anthropology, all of that stuff, history, mythology. Some of the potential implications include, and then it goes all the way down, revised understanding of fossilizations, challenging the timeline of history. Well, you're not kidding. Reevaluating Earth's ancient life forms. Yes. Impact on evolutionary theory, 100%. New technologies and methods in fossil research, absolutely required. Revised views on mythology and ancient texts. We've got to start all over and look at them, at least look at them again. Potential for new discoveries in archaeology, no question whatsoever. But then it says that archaeologists might begin to search for more mud fossils in a different way, focusing on unusual rock formations, geological structures that could harbor remnants of ancient creatures. I have them. Everybody has them now. It's nothing. There's no hidden body parts now. new fields of research could emerge, and the boundaries of what constitutes fossils could expand dramatically, leading to exciting new discoveries. However, there's no evidence. It's important to note that mud fossil theory, highly controversial, has not been widely accepted by the scientific community. Mainstream understanding of geology, paleontology, and biology does not support these claims. Mainstream, I agree, they don't support them because they're wrong. Many consider the mud fossil theory pseudo-scientific. Until substantial and verifiable evidence is presented, it remains speculative. It has been presented. Now it needs to be peer-reviewed, which is not done. It's not allowed to be peer-reviewed because who would peer-review something crazy as that? So what if it has DNA? So what if you have CAT scans? So what if you have specimens? So what if you have anatomy? So what if you have the chemistry? We're not going to look at it because we just don't want to look at it. And that's what I have gotten for 15 years from our top universities. And I mean the top of the top. I didn't go to just anybody. I went to the ones that I said, I want only the best. I want only the best CAT scans. I want only the best DNA tests, the PCR tests. I want all the top stuff, and I want it done right. And I did have it done right. Doesn't matter. That's the problem. Okay, my friends, this is going to be particularly a lot of fun. I have been always talking about the red bed, the gray clay, and the black cap of the Triassic era. And it refers to these three distinctive geological sequences of rock layers found in certain parts of the world, literally worldwide, particularly in regions that were part of the ancient supercontinent Pangaea during the Triassic period, which lasted 50 million years, approximately 250 to 201 million years ago. The rock formations are significant. Now listen to this. Because they provide clues about the Earth's environment conditions during the Triassic, this 50 million years, and are associated with specific processes of layers of sediment deposition. They see these layers, and they say, that's another million years, that's another million years. Well, they also talk about figuring out the climate because of these layers. Even extinction events. This was considered the great dying. Everything on Earth died, basically, is what they say. And they say there was things that were preserved, Yale says this, and they weren't even part of today's biology. They were so crazy that, I'll show you the article in a minute. But anyway, here's the breakdown of each one. The red bed is the red clays. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it just tells you that there's a red bed. Then the gray clay came on top of that afterwards, after whatever, why ever they separated, I don't have any idea. Significance, black cap popped on the top. How did that happen? Triassic context, summary of the sequences. Let's just look at the summary. Red beds indicate a dry, oxygen-rich environment with terrestrial conditions common in deserts or floodplains. It's red, bloody flesh that eroded, which boiled off of the creatures because we almost got hit by Venus. Velikovsky recorded the whole thing. MIT says the oceans boiled during the Triassic as well, and it boiled off the flesh. And it laid around the surface of the Earth, and then the gray clays were, they say it's more humid, marine conditions, oxygen, so it's crazy. Then the black cap was organic rich deposits, potentially swampy and so forth. No, I'm going to show you those three layers, but guess what? I have, where the gray clay is, I have that pushed down through the red bed, and guess what pushed down through it? A human footprint. You want to see it? Of course you do. All right, I just said I have a human footprint pushed down from the gray clay, pushed down through the red bed, and then the black cap on top. Here it is right here. Now, this is the red bed. You see it here? That's pretty red. All right, and all that is boiled off flesh in a layer that just was flat like this. And then a gray clay layer came on top, which is what was pushed down through the red bed. This is gray clay. You see that gray? That's a human footprint. Pushed down through the red bed. It's the balls of the guy's feet. There's the heel. The heel hit here and bloop, just like that. All right, it made suck-ups here. That's the guy's foot. Well, what happened? The gray clay, which is not supposed to be under the red bed, is now under the red bed. There's the gray clay. But what's on top of it is the red bed. You can see it's very obvious. You see it? It pushed that that gray clay right down through the red bed. That's not supposed to be that way. What does that indicate? All you can do, the only possibility here, the only one, zero other possibilities, is that this was wet, so he could make his own little footprint here. And this was wet because it pushed it down through this piece. And the red bed now is right here. Now what about the black cap? Well, that's right here. This is pretty black. And it was laying right on top of here when I found this. Let me dry that up. It's a mess. Hold on. All right, I'm going to focus in a little bit. I hope you can see all this stuff. You see the footprint. You see how it's pushed through. You see the black cap. I'll show you the bottom in a second. And back there, there's another piece. That's a piece of... That actually was a bone right here. There's a bone. I think it's a shoulder. And there's a tendon, and then it comes to the muscle, and then the muscle breaks off out here. And up in here is saturated with red blood to feed the muscle. And that's the outside layer of skin. Now, this has the suck-ups on it. I talk about those a lot. What a mess. The suck-ups are when the guy stepped on here and went... And what they do is they leave that little dimpley looking stuff. I don't know if you can see it. Again, I have a hard time knowing what you can see and what you can't. But that's the guy's footprint. There's his heel. These are where all the suck-ups are. There's the balls of his feet. And I don't think he had toes. I think it was a no-toe. I don't know. But I can tell you what, that's the gray clay, and it should not be below the red bed, which it is. That's just obviously what happened. It happened all on the same day, basically. And this is, that's the black cap, and that's the interface between that and the other. I've had it on and off, so it scuffs this up when I put it on. But it was on just like this. This was on top of the foot, of the toe print. Just like that. You see? The same architecture as this. But it's upside down because it was on top. All right, so we've heard what they have to say about the Triassic red bed, gray clay, black cap, which I showed you has a human footprint in between it. Am I in a Triassic zone area? I don't know. Why don't we ask Chat? Where am I? Well, I am in the central Connecticut, what they call basin. Let's see what they have to say. Is central Connecticut considered Triassic rock? Yes. Listen to this.
Yes, central Connecticut is home to rock formations that include Triassic rocks, specifically in the Hartford Basin area. This basin is a part of the broader Connecticut River Valley, which is known for its geological history dating back to the Mesozoic era, including the Triassic period, about 252 to 201 million years ago. Triassic rock in central Connecticut. Hartford Basin. This is a significant geological feature in central Connecticut where Triassic-aged rocks are found. The Hartford Basin was formed as a rift valley during the early stages of the breakup of the supercontinent Pangaea. As the continents began to split apart, the area experienced faulting, stretching, and subsidence, sinking of the Earth's crust, leading to the deposition of sediments that would eventually become Triassic rocks. Types of Triassic rocks. The rocks found in the Hartford Basin and the surrounding areas of central Connecticut primarily consist of red beds, including sandstones, mudstones, and conglomerates, which are characteristic of the Triassic period. These red beds indicate that the region experienced arid or semi-arid conditions during the Triassic, which is consistent with the overall climate of the time. The Hartford Basin also contains volcanic rocks such as basalt, which formed from volcanic activity associated with the rifting of the land.
It's always volcanic, everything. They explain everything with volcanoes. It's hysterical. It really is. This is what they say. Yes, the conclusion is yes, it's Triassic. And there's right down the street from me, there's Dinosaur State Park, which is a huge thing that they made a big thing about. It has dinosaur footprints in it, little bird footprints, little tiny things. Now, yes, central Connecticut does have areas with Triassic rock, particularly in the Hartford Basin, which is where I am in the central Connecticut Basin. These rocks are significant understanding of geology of the region, provide evidence of Earth's environmental conditions during the Triassic period, including volcanic activity and the rifting that led to the breakup. Everything's volcanoes. It was a volcano. It's all magma. Ay, ay, ay. All right, this is hard to believe that they won't look at this, but this is Bennu. They took a sample out of here and brought it back to Earth. This is what a heart looks like. Now, this is Psyche, which is also another heart. All these are hearts. What happens is right across here, they break. Right at the plumbing, and you see the valves, which are the valves here, and the valves here, and the valves here. And they break right off. There's a seam right in there, and it's a glued seam. And and as a matter of fact, I have another shot that shows it in another way that might make it more obvious. It twists as like a big rubber band. This stuff just breaks right off. It's like glued to that. So what we're looking down is in here and a couple of little valves that are right in that area. So we're looking at the ball underneath. Now, what did they come back with Bennu? All right, I just showed you what Bennu is. It's a meteorite. Well, it's an asteroid. They call it anything they want. It's a big chunk of something out in space, which happens to be a heart. Well, guess what this is? This is what they call a phosphate surprise. What's the surprise about phosphate? Well, they never expected to find it here. And guess what? It's in layers. And what is it layered? It layers sarcomeres. What is a sarcomere? Well, let's start from the beginning. Why would there be phosphates here? And why is it there's a layer down here, and then there's these chunky little things, and then there's a layer on top of these, and then there's another layer of these chunky little things on top of that, and there would have been more and more and more and more layers. Why? Roger, explain that to me. Okay, sorry about that little interruptus there. Now, I believe what I was talking about was the phosphate layers, which are phosphomembranes. That's a membrane. These are sarcomeres. That's a membrane. That's another layer of sarcomeres. There'd be another membrane, another layer, and they would just go on, virtually tons of them. You see these structures? You see the phosphomembranes? The phosphate surprise. They never knew that was there. Well, I want them to look at this as biology, not as just dirt and dust. And they know right now that I've tried to contact them all, and this is stonewalled. And I knew what it was before they came back. Now, the cool thing about this is they sunk into this thing deeper than I had expected they would, but they sunk into some bloody tissue. And they must have hit it, I would think, kind of hard. And grabbed this, because that's muscle. That's part of the muscle of the thing. And they grabbed on and they pinched it, and they came up with it. That's muscle. So they grabbed that out of the creature's body, basically. The heart. They grabbed it right out of the heart. You see this? This is the point of impact. It's a total eclipse of the heart. They grabbed some muscle out of the guy's heart and they brought it back. Now, what did I say? We had phospholipid layers, and then we had heart sarcomeres. That is a sarcomere. That is a phospholipid layer. That is a phospholipid layer. These contract. Guess what? This is a heart. This is a heart attack victim, and the walls of the heart have ripped, so it can't contract anymore the way it's supposed to. And I don't know exactly whether he died from this or what, but this is a damage. However, every layer has membranes which are made of phospholipids, which are phosphates, and these are the blocks of muscle, which are red, blocky, little fibrous muscle tissue, which is identical to this right here. Now, could it just happen to have fallen there by some accident? No. First of all, they went down inside of it, and they said, I think they went down 3 feet or something. I think they went down. They hadn't expected it to go inside the way it did. Now, they came up with muscle tissue and membranes. It's what it is. And the other thing is, it's the anatomicalness of this whole thing is just unmissable. These are the valves. This is the tendon, which is here. And this is up here is just nothing but gooey, gummy glue, literal glue. And these falls right off, right at that seam, which is exactly where it fell off. The tendon's different, that stays. That's tough. Now, and then you see the valves, same thing here. Broke right off here. If you can't see what that is, and I'm going to tell you something else. They always talk about craters on these things. Oh, they got hit by this, they got hit by that. Well, what if it had a tube sticking out of it? What would you say about that? All right, first of all, these are the colors of blood. The red, the yellow, and the black. This is just the transitioning of the blood from the veins and the arteries through your heart. Now, that, my friends, is not a crater. That's not a crater. That is not a crater. What do you see there? I see a tube sticking out. And that tube has a little center in it where blood used to pass through it when this gigantic creature was alive and floating in space. And it had a lot of red blood all over the place. And it had a lot of these little pops out here. These are pops. They're not impacts. Those cooked, and there was like really red blood right at the edge of the top here, and popped out like a little, like a little balloon blew up because of the moisture in there hitting just right. Now, if this was in a condition like Psyche, whole different story. It turned into metal almost. Well, I know the outside turned into metal. The inside, I'm sure, is not, because it just would turn into a blob. Now, this is not turning into metal because it never got hot enough. All right, but it did cook. I can tell because I can see those little pops there. Those are not. You see them? Those are popped out of there. That isn't an impact. That's a pop out of blood, popped right out of here, red blood. You see, there's red blood all over the place. So, and there's another one here down the tube down here at the bottom. You see that? That's a tube too. They won't look. And we spent over $1 billion, 1.18 billion the last time I looked, plus a whole batch of other costs. And they've had that thing in their possession for over a year now, the specimens I showed you. And no engagement that I can tell. They say, oh, we're going to give it to everybody. We're all looking at this. We're going to be looking at this for years and years and years. We put it in isolation. It's Just look at it. Just look at it today. That's all I'm asking. It should be saturated with blood. And blood is made out of clays and metals, basically. Blood is made out of basically transition metals. All kinds of metals. And here's what it is. In your body, blood in these transition metals right here, every one of them is in your blood. Every one. They just did a study on 26 of them to see what is normal, what's not normal. They didn't even do iron. They did all ones that people were worried about. And they found them. They found all of them. And they said, what is the level that's okay? And what's a high level? What's a low level? But these molecules, these atoms, have what they call ligands. Well, you know what? Let me show you the transition metals, because that's what's in here. And those metals, this is going to be just nothing but solid metal. That's why they're so interested, because they think it's going to be worth billions of dollars. And it will. Because it's a gigantic, I think it's like 1,500 meters. Don't take me on this. It's huge. And so is Bennu. And it's smelted to a degree, but just like, I think it got close enough to a sun or something like that, and it smelted just the crust. And inside there, I imagine, it's going to be just like Bennu and have raw red blood and sarcomeres just laying around deep inside. All right, because I have a little meteorite right here. This little meteorite came through space. That's it right there. It's got all the pock marks. I can show you that. It's magnetic. Magnets attract to it. And these are all the sarcomeres. It has the Spurr lock on it and everything. This is biological. And that's a meteorite. That's why it cooked up to like 2,700 degrees, something like that figure. But it didn't get so hot because it's small. And it didn't have so much impact into the atmosphere. And it might have hit going with the right direction on the Earth or whatever. I got another one here. This is a stony meteorite. That's a stony meteorite. And it came through and cooked off like crazy here and like this. And guess what happened? This side right here exploded. And you say, Roger, why would that happen? Well, because there was red, raw blood in here. Raw blood. Very hot, raw red blood exploded. Red blood, very, very fluidy, and it was just packed with blood. It's just like basically, I bet you, well, you can see the heart sarcomeres were there. They're going to find that it's nothing more than the metals of blood that are in Bennu. It's no question about it. Why they haven't released that information yet astounds me after the kind of money we spent. It's incredible. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, you need to understand everything again as an alternative. It's good that you understand mainstream. Very, very good that you understand what they had to say, and then compare it to what I present as evidence to support my claims that what they're saying is not correct. But you do have to know what they're saying to know what I'm saying is. It changes things. I can explain every single thing here. And I'm going to tell you what right now, not one single physicist, geologist, chemist, biologist, anthropologist, paleontologist can explain any of these. None of them. You can't explain a single one of these. Astrophysicists, none of them. I can explain every single one of these, which are all shocker du jours. And the one that I want taken care of now is this deal with Bennu. We're spending billions and billions of dollars. We're going to go look again. We're going to look again. I showed 10 years ago, this, which is up on Mars, is the Mars crab right here. They showed this. It was a big thing on the news. Oh, they found a Mars crab. What could this possibly be? Here was the response from NASA. That's pareidolia, forget about it. I said, well, what is it? What's pareidolia? It doesn't matter what it is because it's pareidolia. I said, no, it does matter what it is because it's an artery. and total refusal to engage. It's not pareidolia. Basically, all the layers on Earth that they thought were laid down as sediments, they're not. And the same thing on Mars. This is Mars, a NASA picture. Don't get off on me on NASA. This is from Mars. I know it is because there's no water erosion. I'll show you some more pictures in a minute. These are the sarcomeres. They break just as all the other sarcomeres did. The same things that came back from Bennu, which is a heart. This is muscle. That is the artery. These are the blood vessels that go in to service all these muscles. That up there is the vein. It brings the blood back. This brings the blood down to service all this tissue. And that's this tissue. This is a blow up of that. I have one of these right here in my shop. Identical, no difference whatsoever. It has all the sarcomeres. It has the blood vessels. Mine has the tendon plus the bone attachment. Absolutely stunning. Now, that is up on Mars, and I reported that to NASA, and I also told them, I said, look, here's what it is. These are sarcomeres. I said, oh, no, that's continually over millions of years those are formed. I said, no, they didn't. Those are sarcomeres. I said, don't you have any biologists or any people that know anything about this? And this is all the runoff of the dusty stuff. Otherwise, you'd see rivulets in here. You would see watery areas which would make like little rivulets, and then that would form like a little watery ravine type thing coming down. There's none of that. This is all dusted off. And that, my friends, is sarcomeres. There's no question whatsoever. None. Zero. There is no other possibility. Those are sarcomeres. If you could possibly, over millions of years, no. Incorrect mundo. You see right there. This is the muscle, and this is a little bit closer, and this is right up tight. These are what they are. These erode out. The red stuff is just gooey. And so is this stuff here. That gives it the ability to contract. This just shows you like some tissue that's below the muscle. Now, that is the sarcomeres. Well, what else? I showed you the other sarcomeres that came back from Bennu, which they are. There they are. That's them. And they have the layers on top. And I showed you the heart attack victim who has the same sarcomeres. They're all the same. So they're laying all over Mars, gigantic, just like they are here on Earth. Those are sarcomeres. Just like they're here on Earth. And it has to feed it. That's the blood. And like I say, I have one here. I'm not going to bother showing. I've seen this. I do this so much. It's getting so tiring. It's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable that this can go. They don't care. Nobody cares about the truth. It just doesn't matter. It has no meaning anymore whatsoever. I just can't believe it. All right, one of the guys I work with, another researcher, Russian guy, he's helping me out. We're going to be doing some DNA and all that stuff. He says something, he just put something into chat or wherever he put it, and it came back saying that Roger Spurr was the #1 top researcher in Mudfossil. Well, I should be. Obviously, I was the one who discovered him, first of all. And so I just put it into C. And it says the most prominent individual associated with promotion of mudfossils, Roger Spurr, has advocated for the idea of certain geological formations, especially in places like the Red Sea and parts of North America, no, the entire world and universe, are the fossilized remains of ancient giant humanoids and other creatures, yes. His claims about mudfossils and associated human-like structures have gained attention, now listen to this, in some alternative science and fringe theory circles or crazy people, but they have not been accepted or validated by mainstream scientific research. Yes, I validated them, but I have to self-publish. He says the same thing here. Listen, Roger Spurr's work, and it's 2 R's there, chat. Roger Spurr's work is mostly self-published. Of course it is. I put it up on academia.edu. because they won't publish it anywhere. So it's mostly self-published through various platforms like YouTube and books. Now the books are done by a friend of mine, Paul Amatucci. They're on Amazon, and his name is Amatucci, Paul Amatucci, Tucci, and he's up there on Amazon. They're very inexpensive, and they're nice little desktop, coffee table book. Very, very simple, and I have nothing to do with it. He's worked from my papers, which are on academia.edu, and I have 45 papers up there, and I had to put them up there because they won't publish. They're self-published, obviously. Now, in summary, while Spurr is one of the most well-known figures prompting the concept of mudfossil, important to understand his theories are not widely accepted in the academic world. Therefore, there is no top researcher in the conventional scientific sense for this topic. The concept of mudfossils remains largely within the realm of alternative theories, is not supported by mainstream geology or paleontology because it won't be peer-reviewed. You peer review. You're more capable of peer reviewing what I have shown than the top geologists, paleontologists, all of those ologists. They're not even close to your abilities. You have much more ability than they do. Make up your own mind. See what you think. You don't have to swallow that nonsense anymore. Evidence is evidence. Evidence wins the day. All right, check this out. My good friend Andre, who is Russian, is promoting mudfossils in Russia, and I guess they're catching on. And Monsieur Putin here is checking one out and thinking, maybe these guys are onto something. Well, Andre sent me the thing today about they got you listed as #1 in the world on mudfossils, and I said, well, so that's why I looked it up to see what they had to say, and they just said that I have no evidence, although I am the founder of it. Now, what he sent me was this right here, and he's trying to get Putin. I guess he may, I don't know, because we're doing DNA tests and that kind of stuff too. He says, if this issue reaches Putin, he decides to support your initiative, could be beginning of a new era in the study of ancient history of the Earth. I'd rather have it done in the United States, but I can't find anybody that takes any interest at all. Not a single university, nowhere. And he asked ChatGPT. Now, that's what I thought I used, and I got a different response. But anyway, he said, how many other people do you know who are close to this topic? And it said, the issue of mudfossils and fossil theory attracts the attention of a very narrow but passionate audience, consisting of independent researchers, alternative historians, and those interested in unconventional approaches to science. Here are some of the people or groups who are likely close to this topic. And they do have, #1, Roger Spurr, the founder of Mudfossil concept, a key figure in popularizing the idea. He actively shares his research through YouTube and other platforms, providing evidence for his theories. And then John Lamb Lash and Graham Hancock and David Icke and so forth. Anyway, there is a following now that is starting to understand. We just don't understand what we thought we understood because we don't understand it. And at least it looks like he's thinking. But I'm telling you something. You look at most of them, their eyes just look like glazed over, like their eyes don't communicate to their brain. It's just like I'm not kidding you. It's just that kind of a look. Because it's stunning stuff. I mean, a brain this size, yes, that's stunning, absolutely. I don't disagree with that. And she's looking at it and saying, that's interesting. I'm telling you, it's crazy, crazy stuff. And here's from the other side of that brain. There's an eyeball. It's just, they soaked. Here's what happened. You don't very rarely see bones. And the bones be in this salty, hot water, the bones boil down to particulates. and they disassociated from the fleshy stuff. There was something different about the way the bones reacted in this soup. The bones just dissolved, and trees did too. Most of the gray clay is residue from trees and cellulose and stuff. The first thing that boiled out was the red, fleshy, bloody bodies. Creatures everywhere. They boiled, settled to the bottom. Then the red bed is body parts that were not just red flesh. Then came the black cap on top of that. The trees and stuff and all that stuff mixed in with the gray clay zone. So it's time that we look at our history for what it really is and not just accept it. I mean, this is nonsense to look at this and say, oh, that doesn't exist. No. It's there. That's a damn flea or something. The creatures that were here so big that I wouldn't even know they were there. They wouldn't just be like a flea on a buffalo or something. They wouldn't have any idea they were there. It was what it was, and that's what they said it was. All right, so we got, not only do we have the physical evidence, we have the written words. We can see the things that are in space. I showed you those things. There was battles in the heavens. They said they were exploding each other with like bombs and things in the heavens. Hearts floating around in there. How would that heart get out there? I think most of the stuff ended up in space as a consequence of Mars being impacted by Venus, and it was impacted, and it was a hell of a smash. It's got a crater that's wider than the whole United States, deep, and all this stuff went into space and blew the whole atmosphere off, destroyed everything. There's no more water, there's no more biology literally growing there, which is what was required to replenish the oxygen supply. It's gone. It has no more atmosphere. That's the problem with Mars. And it's the red planet because there's nothing but biology eroded all over the surface. And these are the Mars blueberries. They're identical. This is to the Moki marbles. And all of the ones that are all over here. This is the red, basement layer. The other stuff has just eroded away and been dusted away and left the balls. Exactly what you see in the Moki marbles. I had that around here somewhere. Here it is right here. These are the Moki marbles. This is on Earth. And that's the basement layer. These are with the fleshy stuff that was above, and the rest is eroded away. And we got the same thing here over in the United Kingdom. Washing away from the side, that's the skin layer, and that's the red fleshy layer, and these are the tendon balls that were in this layer. All that's eroded away and turned into mud. The balls have dropped down and they're here, and they're being eaten by some kind of moss. All right, so I just showed you the balls, the other balls. I showed you the muscle. I showed you the muscle here, 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 the heart's here, where they got the blood from here. And they came up and they grabbed up some muscle. I was shocked when I saw it, because this is it right here. This is what they found. There's layers of phospholipid layers in between each one of these sarcomeres. And here's what they came back with was these here with the sarcomere, the phospholipid layers. And they were freaked out. They said, wow, we never expected to see this. There they are. It's unmissable. Layer of membranes, a layer of muscle, a layer of membranes, a layer of muscle. There'd be another one, another one, another one. It's, heart that size have quite a few. So that's what they're seeing, and they can't deal with the reality of life. And this here is another one. This is up in the desert somewhere. It's in the Grand Canyon area. And here's all those little tendon balls. But they call them anthesis. The anthesis just means the end of something. They're tendon anthesis. Well, these are little tiny balls that nobody even knows they're in you, because they've never even dealt with them before, basically. People say, oh, we know about that, we knew about that. Well, why didn't you ever talk about it? Nobody ever talked about it. These are in the body, and here's what happens on Mars. Those are the balls, these are the little straps. This is stretched, this is pinched. This is a wrinkle in the skin, a wrinkle in the skin, a stretch in the skin. This is unstretched and unwrinkled. Take your time and look at it. Think about what you're seeing there. I showed you the Mars blueberries and the Moki marbles. That's these. And why are these but without straps? No straps on those. It's been eroded by literally sandblasting. This is up, this is up. Comes across, this is down. So it doesn't get sandblasted down there. But up here, it gets sand. These are the cheap things. I tell you, there's heavy duty stuff, and then there's cheap stuff. The cheap stuff erodes, it evaporates, it just falls apart. The tough stuff is the balls. They are not going to go anywhere. So you end up with a whole ton of these balls when everything else goes away. That's why we see them in what I just showed you, a ton of them here. And this is on Earth, so that's why it's all muddy in here, because that's the flesh has just eroded down here, and the balls are now within what was the remainder of the flesh. It's a whole new world, and even Yale changed their whole name from geology, into planetary science, and they show this exact same stuff for their name change. They know about this. Why they don't talk about it is because I was the one that discovered it, and they took credit for it. That's why they don't talk about it. That's what I think. Okay, as I said, Mudfossil University, not just mud fossils, and not just any one thing, it's everything. This just came out, rethinking electron interactions. I've been showing electron interactions, they're dipoles. Dipole electron flood theory. And Chat says if that's correct, everything in physics changes. Everything. The redshift, forget about it, it's nonsense. And I can show you, well, I'll show you right now. This is what you get from mainstream physics. This is the black particle, and there's a white particle, and they have interaction with each other. They call these gravity waves, but they never saw them. This is theoretical. But they have seen mine, and I think they took from mine to make this. Because here's mine, and I posted these a long time ago, not just recently. Hold on a second. You see there's theirs, and here's what I've been showing for years now. This was taken with a cell phone, and there's some kind of an app in there, I don't know what, and the guy that took it, I don't think he wants to be involved because he's not responded since then. This goes back at least 2-3 years. And he sent me these pictures. He said, what do you make of this? And I said, wow. This is our moon. Now, I understand a lot of this. I'm not going to go into this detail. But you can't expect light to come through there and not be affected by all these fields. Light hits fields and it slows down. We're looking at things that are not being pulled away from us at the speed of, a bazillion miles an hour. We're looking at things that the light is coming from it, is slowing down as it approaches us. They could be pulling away, I don't know. But I do know that the light coming to us comes through all of this. There is no vacuum in space. It's called the quantum foam. Particles winking on and off in space, exactly what Don Lincoln from Fermilab says. And I showed the particles that he shows. We found them, only we split them apart and brought them back together again. And in the middle, we had electron showers. It's called fission and fusion. All right, I tell you, this is the best time ever there was to be in physics. They have found these particles in their super colliders, but it's just they find them in a bunch of debris. Have no clue where they came from. This one is black, never changes, it's fixed, but has a glowy edge, just like that one. This one gets big, gets small, and it has no mass to it, but it gets very, very reactional because of its field. What the field is based around, I have no idea. There's virtually no weight to it whatsoever. Almost none. How it's so energetic, I have no idea. But its whole purpose in life is to glue back to the black. This will burn through your body to get back to this black. Electrons push everything out of their way to get back to that black. Okay, my friends, another interruption. As I'm saying, this is full spectrum. We do everything, and these are the particles. We are ahead of CERN and Fermilab and all of them. There's not a physicist in the world can stand up to this research. That's the actual photon. Not only that, we put it through this accelerator, which is a Venturi, and they broke apart and created fission and fusion. That's the breaking apart where the black separates from the white. It creates electron showers. It comes back together. So that's fission and that's fusion. It's simple as that. And we did it right here by accelerating the particle of light. And light is a particle. Right there. It's two electrons back to back, and electrons are dipoles. They're not just a little glowy one thing. So we did that, and this is what it looks like before it turns into the photon phase and separates. You can't see the particle, but it's in here, and its field is a field that just pushes other fields away from it. Everything has a field, so all of these gas particles are being pushed out of the way. They glow because they're being pushed. Field to field makes glow, and when we put it at the Venturi, the fields glow like unbelievable. Green particles are identical to the red, identical, and they polarize straight up and down to Earth. Even though it's going sideways this way, instead of twisting that way, it's straight up and down to Earth because it's a polar particle, and Earth is a sink. It's a dipole. Same thing with the red. There's the red. Here's before it gets energetic enough to be a photon. That's what they call a neutrino phase, as it builds energy. Different flavors, they say. And light spins. It doesn't flap like a wave. It's spinning through this Venturi. Just like a drill bit. You can't miss it. And there's elegant patterns because the white pushes the whites away from each other. And pretty much all you're getting on the other side is the white particles, but they're red. They're the glowy part. And they get real glowy here because they're pushing each other together, and then they push out. And they create these. They always thought they were this kind of a thing. Not that way. It's spinning. And there's a whole ton of them spinning here. It's not just one making this pattern. They're all over here, all over here, all over here. But the only way they can get through is here. Once they're in here crushing each other, they spread out into that elegant pattern. This is not just one spinning thing. In other words, think of it this way. This is going to spin this way, and it might come all the way around that way. Spin this way, spin this way, spin this way. As they come through the Venturi, when they come out the other side, they just want to be apart. That's all it is. I don't want you no more. Stay away from me. Just leave out that door and don't come back no more. They just don't want to be next to each other. They don't like each other. I showed you the light before it accelerated. It was back here, and then all of a sudden it started to accelerate because of the Venturi. We'd added no energy whatsoever to this and pulled that particle right out of its own magnetic field. It's just unheard of. Which is accelerated it like crazy. And at here, it exploded backwards. Now, why does it show up real white all of a sudden, all of this here? This is a subatomic nuclear explosion. Subatomic, lower than an atom. Nuclear means that these parts are the bits of the nucleus. Explosion means the white and the black fell apart. Exploded apart, they don't fall apart. You really got to do some pushing to push that white away from the black, and that's exactly what happened, because the black can't get through us. Bam, 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 bam. And when it does, these things are pushing against each other so hard that, get away from me, get away, get away. And they try to get away, and they end up squirting out of here. and then recombining exactly at that spot. They break apart here, they recombine right here. And of course, they trail in because it's just not instantaneous, everything comes back. They have to grab their own partners as they go forward. That, my friends, right there disproves Einstein 100%. The speed of light is accelerating in the midst of the gases of the atmosphere. This light is light. It's supposed to go one speed. No, absolutely not. And space is supposed to be a vacuum? No, absolutely not. None of this stuff is correct. And I know they know this. How they can say, oh, we just took Hubble and we just took Webb and we can see now billion, trillion, zillion, blah, 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 billion miles away. No, 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 a billion times. No. It's just not right. I don't know how to get through to anybody. I just don't. I guess I'll leave it at the billion-dollar boondoggles going to space to find all these things. They should know what they are. All you got to do is get a biologist, an anatomist, a chemist, and look at these samples. They came back to muscle. They're sarcomeres. They're these things right here. They look exactly like they are this. They went and they dug them right out of that asteroid. And they brought them back here to Earth, and they are muscle sarcomeres between phospholipid layers. It's time to get off of the dime here and move forward to reality. You walk around in circles for billions and billions of dollars. That's the key that I hope this new administration is going to address. That's the problem. They got Elon Musk going to be trying to make things more efficient. Well, I think we could start with some of the evidence I have to present. I'd like to have a discussion with somebody, either him or somebody that's working with him. I got so much evidence, and I think these are the kind of things he'd be interested in, but I don't know. I can't get through to anybody, so these things I do not know. Okay, I guess this is it for today. Way over $1 billion, and they refuse to engage in a discussion about what the possibilities are. I'm not saying I have to accept it, but I don't see how that it's easily dismissed out of hand. It's that's just not right. I'm not making any guesses up here. I mean, these are sarcomeres. These are phospholipid layers, and Bennu is a heart. Any anatomist knows this. I've shown it to anatomists. They say, absolutely. Okay, my outstanding friends. Once again, most of you guys come up here for the mud fossils and discovery of what the Earth literally is made of versus the geology that's been taught. Now, however, to understand the mud fossils, which I have presented, you have to understand chemistry. You have to understand biology, anatomy, the process of the transition of what's called nucleophilic substitution, invasion, nucleosynthesis, which was the breakdown of the nucleus to convert it into other atoms. The nucleuses can break down. That's what isotopes and half-lives are all about. They've never been able to explain that with the standard model. Isotopes, you can't explain them with the standard model. They're little bits and pieces of atoms which aren't supposed to be there. And the little bits and pieces can go this way, they can go that way. You can take on some more, you can give some up. So they really can't explain that until dipole electron flood theory came along, which is an addition to the mud fossils. You have to understand dipole electron flood theory. When these mud fossils were formed, there's a specific process that created this nucleophilic invasion, and it had to do with boiling, and it had to do with rich silicates and membranes. I'm serious. That's what I called it. Originally, I called it fascia-facilitated fossilization. Fascia is the membranes. And it facilitates, which means it makes really work to make fossils. fascia facilitated fossilization. I have papers up on academia.edu. They wouldn't allow me to publish. They still can't publish, because I'm considered outside the realm of peer review. They won't review me because they can't stand up to my evidence. Basically, that's it. And it destroys basically everything they're saying. So either you go along with what they tell you to say, or you watch what I'm going to present to you. And if you're here, I'm sure you know about the mud fossils. My stuff is DNA tested, it's CAT scanned, it's specimens, it's got blood gushing out of it everywhere. And the anatomy's there, the whole story's there. Velikovsky did the history of it. I support Velikovsky with my research. It's a done deal now. It's a package. Before he had half, I had half. Between the two, you got the whole package. Now, so what are we talking about? Our history changes, chemistry changes, biology is not what they're telling us. Evolution is silly. Light can accelerate, and that's just the part I'm going to show you probably today, or you've seen that, I'm sure, if you've been hanging around here, because we accelerated light. We did all kinds of things. Now, I've been working with a guy over in Italy called Rogran. And he is working with some university there. And all they want to do is see some equation. He said, we don't know, we don't want to see the pictures, we want to see an equation. I said, wait a minute. There is really no one equation like E equals mc squared. That's just absolute not working. I don't want to be critical, but it's silly. First of all, c is not a consistent speed of light. It's not a constant. It's not constant. You can go up, you can go down, and that I proved. I've shown that 100%, no question about that. I can speed up light. You slow light down. No, everybody knows you can slow it down, but they say light in a vacuum goes one speed only. There is no vacuum. There's no vacuum. That's why they take all these pictures in space. They say, oh, that's a billion, zillion, trillion miles away. No, it's not. It's the light that's coming to it is slowing down. It's not because it's speeding away. They even now say that the galaxies and the universe is expanding faster. All it is the further they see, the slower the light is coming at us. So they think it's going faster way out there. It's accelerating, and it's even now supposedly going faster than the speed of light, which you're not supposed to exceed. It's so wrong, it's comical. It really is. But if you're interested in being in anywhere in the sciences now, or even in archaeology, everywhere, 100% right across the board, now's the time to do it. But don't go to the mainstream. Go there, listen. I don't care, but I wouldn't pay them. You go online and go ask Chat. I was going to show you what I say is reality. Ask Chat if Roger's right or wrong. They know what I'm doing. Now, they'll give you some real fluffy thing about it, I know. But they know exactly what I'm claiming, that the Earth and everything is biology, 100%, right across the board. And they know that. They said if that was true, that would be one of the biggest things in history. They also know that I claim dipole electron flood theory. They claim that if that's true, it's the biggest thing in physics in history. But if it's not allowed to be seen, it's not allowed to be seen. That's what's happened. Those are not my words. That's what Chat says. And all I have to do is ask him, if Roger Spurr said this and it's right, what does that mean? Everything changes. We need new textbooks. And by the way, I don't do the textbooks. I have nothing to do with these little books, and they're not really textbooks. I have a whole bunch of papers. I got like 45 different papers up on academia.edu, because that's the only place that allows you to publish without having to have peer reviews allow it. That's like racketeering. It's like mob stuff where we won't let you come in here and talk unless you say what we tell you to say. You got it? Well, no, I ain't got it. Now, Paul Amatucci on Amazon has done these on my papers. That's all. I don't have anything to do with these books. I don't publish them. I don't make any money from them. I didn't do any work on them. And I'm very thankful that he's doing this. It's not like he's taking my work, and I don't care about that. I just want it to be seen. And they're very inexpensive. I don't think he's making any money on it either. So it's not like, and I don't think there's, anyway, they're not very informative. But it's a nice coffee table book. And it's got a bunch of pictures, and it's big print, and anyway, Paul Amatucci on Amazon. Now I have one on Amazon which is about Velikovsky. It's called Mudfossils and Velikovsky and Minds in Collision. He wrote Worlds in Collision. Exactly what happened, where Venus almost hit Earth, created huge floods and boiled the oceans, and even they know this now. MIT agrees, yes, the ocean's boiled. In the ancient texts, they all say the same thing. And which created this huge flood. And because of the silica in the deep ocean coming up to the surface, because everything was like this, it's solidified and made the mud fossils. That's the only reason the mud fossils are. And Yale agrees with that. They say this did happen, and it was a worldwide flood, basically. It created 3 layers: the red bed, which is the boiled off flesh; the gray clay, which is the organs and all the, I call it marl, it's all kind of different things, and cellulose and all that. But first of all, the first thing to come out of everything boiling was the red, bloody, fleshy tissues, and it settled to the bottom, which created the red bed. Worldwide. What does that tell you? It was one worldwide flood boiling. Now, the second layer was all of the stuff that basically was floating around and debris, and they call it the gray clay. Now, in some areas it's greenish, some areas it's gray, and so forth. But it's very distinct layers: red bed, gray clay, and a black cap. I have all 3 here, and they happened at the same time because they were all wet at the same time. I have where the gray clay is pushed down through the red bed. They were both wet, and it's a footprint of a human being. And on top of that was the black cap. All of that happened at the same weekend, basically. And there was a human being running it for his life. I mean, it's just what it is. I've shown this over and over and over. So what I'm saying to you right now, the whole point of my discussion to this point is that this is not just curiosities. This is not just about rocks. This is about our ancient history, about the truth of everything that has been suppressed from us. And it leads to the ancient myth, which was really history, which is about gods and giants and dragons and all that stuff, is now foundationally supported by material evidence, not just guesses, not just, oh, that's crazy. No, you're crazy not to look at the evidence. And that is what I have found, is a locked mind. Well, I want to open that mind up. So if you're here, your mind has to be somewhat open. If you want to be critical, be critical. I can take that. But be critical with some material substance behind the criticisms. That's what I really want. If you call me crazy, everybody does. I don't care. I have the evidence to support my side of it. The people that are really crazy are the ones that can't open their mind. And the message I got was, these things are for you to see and for other people as a test. And I said, whoa. And it's almost for 15 years now. The test has gone unanswered. I mean, very, very rare. You're one of the rare ones if you're watching this and your mind's open enough to see past what you have been mentocided with, indoctrinated by, which is basically brainwashing of academia. Because if you don't say exactly what they tell you to say, you get failed. How can you possibly advance your mind? You say, I'm going to tell you what to say. I'm the teacher. You say what I tell you to say, and I'll give you an A, and everybody will think you're smart. And the kid says, yeah, but what you're telling me there's another guy who says it's not true. So I don't care. You say what I say, and I'll give you an A. You say what he says, I'll fail you, because you're talking to a pseudoscientist. You're talking to somebody who doesn't know what he's doing. He said, no, he's got evidence. He's got DNA, he's got CAT scans, he's got specimens, he's got anatomy, he's got biology, he's got the process down, he's recreated. That doesn't matter. It's not peer-reviewed. It's not peer-reviewed. Don't come here with that again. I don't want to hear that from you again. Next time, we're done. Kabish? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. From then on, you are under their thumb. And that is, everybody is. You can't stop it. You cannot stop it. It cannot be stopped until we have an alternative university, which is my university, Mudfossil University. It's not just about curiosities and monsters and giants and dragons, which 100% of the world had the same story. They saw giants fighting in the skies. They said battles in the heavens. Dragons, monsters, giants. Oh, they're just crazy people. Every single person on the face of the planet had the same story, a worldwide flood. And it's all supported by the evidence. Doesn't matter in academia. This has got to change. Change. And she's a-coming. Get on board, because she's a-coming.